This is the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants podcast, a show to help independent UK-based HR consultants get a pipeline of perfect fit, high-paying clients without expensive adverts, time-consuming social media activities, or energy-sapping and monotonous networking meetings. I'm your host, Nick Paninsky, author of How to Land Your Dream Client, a book which explains everything you need to know to get every sale and client you ever want. And if that sounds interesting, then make sure to grab your copy from the influential consultant website today. That being said, let's get into today's show. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants with me, Nick Paninsky. In today's episode, we're diving into ChatGPT. So we're going to talk about what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how it can be a game changer for HR consultants just like you. I'm going to share some practical tips for getting the most out of it, the common pitfalls to avoid, and I'm even going to reveal a few secrets that most people don't know about. And that way, by the end of this episode, you'll have everything you need to start using ChatGPT confidently to create anything you want. So that way, you'll never face that dreaded blank screen ever again. Overall, this is your ultimate guide. So whether you're completely new to ChatGPT or you've tried it before and you thought, it's not working for me, this isn't for me, well, stick around because I promise this will change how you work forever. ChatGPT is a game changer. And if you're not using it yet or you're not using it very well, you need to start. So first up, let's talk about what ChatGPT is. So, ChatGPT, I'm going to give you the technical definition. ChatGPT is an advanced AI language tool developed by OpenAI. You don't really need to know that. All that you need to know is that it is a tool that you use and you give it instructions and then it gives you information back. It's like your personal assistant, right? So you can ask it to generate ideas, write content, brainstorm solutions to problems, whatever it is. You give it instructions or prompts, as the technical term is, and ChatGPT responds. It sends information, it creates information out of thin air, it's magical, it answers your question. So it's kind of like having a copywriter, a researcher, a marketing strategist. It's all rolled into one, it's all there. It's kind of, I guess, what I do want to say is it's kind of different to Google, right? So when you go onto Google, what you are looking for is an answer to your question, right? So, you're saying, let's say, for example, searching HR consultants in the Thanet area or Kent, for example, right? Now, that hasn't changed. People will still use Google to do that. They might start using ChatGPT eventually, who knows? But for now, everyone's still going to go to Google and say, I need a HR consultant in Kent, right? And that's not really necessarily going to change. But what will change is when somebody says, what makes a good HR consultant? Now, if you search for that on Google, what Google will feedback is loads of different websites which answer that question, right? And it's gonna, there's a variety of ways that Google works, but ultimately, and I'll talk about it some other time when I do a podcast about SEO, but effectively, Google ranks pages based on how well they answer that question. There's a load of stuff going into it. You don't need to know too much about it, but effectively, that's what Google does. What ChatGPT does is it creates the answer for you by searching all the information out there that's on the internet. So when you say, what makes a good HR consultant, it is going to give you the answer that it thinks is right. And that's a key bit. We're going to come back to that shortly, but it's going to generate the answer for you out of thin air. So that's the difference between ChatGPT and Google. Overall, it creates answers for you. So, I guess like an analogy would be that instead of, you walk into a library and instead of searching for the books yourself, you describe exactly what you need from the librarian the librarian goes and pulls out all those resources and then summarizes it for you and then gives it for you. That's ChatGPT. Google is the library, ChatGPT is the librarian pulling all the information together. Okay, so now we know what ChatGPT is. Let's talk about how ChatGPT can help you with your productivity, can help you with your content creation, right? Now, before I do go into this, I do want to say that I'm aware that there are other AI tools out there that you can use, right? There's Copilot from Microsoft, there's Gemini from Google, and then there's a whole raft of other stuff as well. I use ChatGPT. I use the others sparingly. I don't delve too much into them. Reason being that ChatGPT is way better than the others. So when I ask ChatGPT for something, it's much better than what Google or Microsoft give me. So you feel free to use whichever tool is for you. But for me, I use ChatGPT. It's the most popular, it's the most well-known, and it's the best. That's why I'm going to talk about it today. So how can ChatGPT help you? Well, in terms of those practical applications, it can create marketing content for you. So if you need a LinkedIn post, for example, you can give it the prompt and say, I need a LinkedIn post for XYZ. And then you press enter and ChatGPT will go away and create a LinkedIn post about whatever topic it is for you. You can just copy and paste it. Now, this is one of those things which is really super helpful because I say, don't spend too much time on your LinkedIn content. I know that there are people out there who advocate for it. For me, the magic of LinkedIn happens in the DMs. It happens when you get on a call with somebody. Creating the content is less important. So when I hear my clients talking to me about spending time creating LinkedIn content, I would say that is less important than actually getting into strategic conversations with people. That being said, it is useful to throw out content every so often so that people know that you still exist. And that's where ChatGPT can help because it can create it in seconds for you. You can just copy and paste it and be done with it. ChatGPT can also create email campaigns for you. So if you say that you want a 7-day launch or something along those lines to launch some sort of service or products or offer, it can do it for you. It can create blogs for you. That is something that I do. In fact, I do all of these things. It can create blogs for you from scratch. It can create the blog for you from start to finish. You just copy it, paste it, put it on your website. There is a web developer that I know. Hello, Tommy. He has created some code so that ChatGPT creates the blog and then posts it to his website without him doing a single thing. Personally, I don't think that's the best idea. It does create the content, but, and we'll come on to this shortly, but whatever ChatGPT creates for you, you do need to check. Copying it and pasting it blindly is not the best solution. It's not the best way to use ChatGPT. That being said, Tommy has different marketing goals than I do. So, so long as it works for him, that's absolutely fine. So, yeah, it can create blogs for you. And ChatGPT can basically create any piece of content for you if you ask it to. It's actually given me the outline for this podcast that I'm talking through right now. So, as an example, you could write a LinkedIn post announcing a free HR workshop with a professional yet approachable tone. That can be what you can ask it to do. And it will go away and do that for you. Now, when I say that you want to check what it creates for you, there's a reason for that. It's because, firstly, that prompt that I just shared with you is not the greatest. And secondly, the fact that, the prompt, whatever instruction you give to ChatGPT, that is going to dictate the output that you get. We'll come on to that shortly, but for now, I just want to keep going about what ChatGPT can actually do for you. So we've got your marketing content, LinkedIn posts, email campaigns, blog ideas. You could even get it to create a sales page for you, or some sort of web page. Can do it all for you. It can, if you want it to do, create a lead magnet for you. So, when you are offering some sort of freebie download on your website that you want people to download so that they join your world, it can create the whole thing for you. So downloads, guides, checklists, whatever it is, you could say to it, write a checklist for 5 common HR mistakes target audience make and how to avoid them. So, if you worked with accountants, for example, 5 common HR mistakes that accountants make and how to avoid them. You might even want to go a little bit hard hitting and say, give me some optional titles to make this hard hitting. And we'll come on to these prompts shortly, but I just want to give you a bit of an idea about everything that you can do with it. So you can ask it to create lead magnets for you. Client communications or lead communications. So if you're emailing somebody, you can ask it to create the proposals for you. You can ask it to create emails for you to circle back to somebody who's been in touch with you and then hasn't come back to you for one reason or another. Alternatively, you could just send them an email that say, "Are you ghosting me?" It depends on you and your style, but you can ask it to create these things for you. And it will go away and create them. You could even ask it to create a script for a sales call. Whatever it is that you want creating, ChatGPT can do it for you. It just depends on the prompts that you give it. You can also streamline tasks. If you ask it to create a script for a podcast, you can also ask it to turn it into a LinkedIn article. You can ask it to turn it into a LinkedIn post, and you can ask it to turn it into an SEO blog for your website. You can even ask it to create the content that you would use to advertise the LinkedIn article and the blog. It will create all of it for you at the click of a button. So, definitely worth exploring because it can really help you create a hell of a lot of content. And all you've got to do is click your fingers and it will go away and do it for you. I've even heard that there is ChatGPTs that can create full books for people. Personally, I would suggest that you do it chapter by chapter. But, if you were going to ask it to do that, but, that's your call. And in the future, FYI, I have heard that ChatGPT coming down the line, if you said to it, I want to go on holiday to Buenos Aires, see all of the best parts of Argentina for the next 21 days. I want you to get flights, I want you to get hotels, I want you to get itinerary options. It can then go away, bring back all those options in the future. This will be, it will go away, create all the options and say, do you want me to book this for you? And you'll be able to click yes. And it will go away and do all the booking for you. That is coming down the line. That's what I've heard. Not a guarantee, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility, because if it can go out there and get all the information, then surely it can then go ahead and book all this information for you, right? So exciting days. One question that I get asked repeatedly, and this is just before we go to talk about how to use ChatGPT effectively. One question that I get asked repeatedly is, how much does ChatGPT cost? And the short answer is nothing. As remarkable as it is, as powerful as ChatGPT is, it's free to a certain extent. So what I mean by that is ChatGPT is evolving over time, right? The first ChatGPT that came out last year or the year before or whenever it was rather basic. You gave it the instructions and what it spat out to you, the content that it gave to you was not as good as the newer versions of ChatGPT, right? The machine has learned, for want of a better phrase, and it now gives out better content than it used to. So when I say that ChatGPT is free to a certain extent, you will get the best version possible of ChatGPT. You can use it, give or take, for about 10 goes free of charge, right? So you can go out, Google ChatGPT, log in, create your account, use it, give or take. You could just mess about with it 10 times or so. And then it'll ask you, do you want to upgrade and get the paid version, which you don't need to do. I don't. Or then it'll put you onto the lesser version. And you'll notice that there's a difference between what ChatGPT starts to give you with that secondary version. But overall,
growing a HR consultancy can be incredibly lonely. Your friends and family pay polite attention, but they don't really get it. And the fear of where the next client is coming from can be incredibly daunting when you've got mouths to feed and a mortgage to pay. All in all, becoming self-employed wasn't quite as fun and easy as you thought it'd be. And I get it, trust me. That's why I've set up the HR Business Success Squad, and I'm inviting you along to grab one of the limited spaces. In the squad, the first thing we do is get laser focused on where you want your business to get to and how you're going to get there. From there, it's all about making progress with one-to-ones, fun competitions, trainings, Q&As, and interacting with a fantastic group of people who are in the same boat as you. They get what you're going through and what you're trying to achieve because they're on the same path as you, so you can hold each other to account. And the best part? There's no contract. The HR Business Success Squad is a monthly pay-as-you-go membership. You can come and go as you please. If it's not for you, you're free to leave. No hard feelings, no cancellation charges, and no early exit fees. So if you're ready to create a real plan for growth with real support and people alongside you to cheer you along as you make progress towards your business goals, then visit the Influential Consultant website today and join the HR Business Success Squad.
yes, 10 goes at the best ChatGPT, whatever it is that you're allowed for your free version. That's absolutely fine. The free version is absolutely fine. You do not need to pay for it. If you want to pay for it, then, you probably need to be a super user. So you don't need to pay for it. It is free. And yeah, it's fantastic. So before we go on to how to use it, I do want to reassure you that if you just log on and just play about with it, don't worry about, getting this wrong or anything along those lines or breaking the system. You can just go away and just play with it to your heart's content just to see what it's all about. Okay, so you're raring to go. You understand what ChatGPT is. You understand what it can do for you. You get that it's a librarian and it can run around that library for you and then collate all the information for you. You're ready to go. How do you get started? Well, I'm going to give you some tips on how to use ChatGPT effectively from a kind of, generic rules perspective. And then I'm going to give you some very specific ways, specific prompts that I share with ChatGPT in order to get it to create the information that I want it to create for me. So the first thing to note is the power of the prompt, right? So what you ask ChatGPT for, the more specific, the better. And what you ask it to not create for you. So again, the more specific you are about what it is that you are not looking for, that will also help. So the more well-crafted prompt that you provide to ChatGPT, the better the end result. So being specific will be more helpful with what it creates for you. Otherwise, you'll have to stop what it's creating and say, no, you're wrong. I need something like this, right? For example, if you were to say to it, write about HR consulting, you'll get a very generic response. ChatGPT won't really understand what it is that you're asking for when you say that. So it'll just go away and do its best for you because it's not going to say no. It's not going to say, I need more information. It's just going to follow the instruction you've given it. It's quite dumb in certain respects, right? But if you say to it something a bit more specific, like write a 500-word LinkedIn post with emojis and trending hashtags about the benefits of outsourcing HR for local accountancy firms in Kent, then can you see how much more specific that is? And therefore, what it creates for you is going to be a lot more bespoke, right? So you will get content that you can not necessarily use right away, because one of the caveats to ChatGPT is that whatever it creates for you, don't just copy and paste it willy-nilly, right? It's going to give you 95% of the work. You do still need to go and change it. So yeah, the prompt is important. The more specific you can be, the better, but you will usually need to change it. The next tip that I've got for you is to create a memory bank for ChatGPT to access so that it knows more about you and more about what you're looking for. So this can teach for want of a better phrase, ChatGPT about your style, about what your tone you want, your preferred formats, your audience details, all that good stuff. So you could say to it, if you wanted to, remember that I write for HR consultants who struggle with lead gen, client acquisition, don't know how to sell. They're great at being HR consultants, not necessarily the marketing aspect. Or what you can do is you can actually create a memory bank in ChatGPT itself by clicking the profile icon of yourself. So if you've put a picture there, that will click on that bit there. Click it in the top right-hand corner of the screen, click Customize ChatGPT, and then insert whatever information is important to you there. So that way it creates this memory bank about you. And this saves time because you won't need to keep inputting that information into ChatGPT. It will just remember who your audience is, what their pain points are, what kind of tone you like it to use, etc., etc. So that will create content which is more tailored towards your needs without constant repetition. So it's going to save you time when you are saving time by asking ChatGPT to create content for you. You can also ask ChatGPT to create private content for you. So if you're working on something sensitive that you don't want ChatGPT to remember, or you don't want someone else to access, you can say, don't store this information, or you can click to create a temporary chat in the top left-hand corner. And then that way you're maintaining control over what ChatGPT remembers, and that keeps your work private and secure. Because otherwise it will remember it. It will store up that bank on the left-hand side. You will see when you access ChatGPT that it creates this bank of chats that you've had with it. FYI, you should always be using a new chat each time, unless the prompt relates to what you've just asked it for. So if you want a LinkedIn post and then you want, let's say, for example, an email checklist, these are two very different things. So you would use two very different chat prompts. You would ask it for a new one, kind of like opening up a new tab in your web browser, like in Google or something. But if you're asking it for a LinkedIn article about why accountants in Kent should do exit interviews, you could ask it for that LinkedIn article, then you could ask it for a LinkedIn post about it, then you could ask it for a podcast script, then you could ask it for an email, and it'll all be in that same prompt because it's all information which is relating to each other. That being said, do go ahead and delete or rename old chats just that way so that, you can stay on top of that information which is there, that database. The old stuff you won't necessarily need. You'll never need to go back to it. And the stuff that's important to you, if you've renamed it, it's like a filing mechanism. You'll be able to access what is important to you and relevant to you at the drop of a hat. Again, improving your productivity and your ability to create content. So rather than feeling overwhelmed by this big old list on the left-hand side, rather than it being cluttered, you're effectively tidying up your workspace. There are some common pitfalls to avoid. So vague prompts lead to weak results. So again, circling back to the start, ChatGPT can only work with what you give it, and it will only create what it thinks that you're asking for. So yeah, the more specific the instruction, the better the output. But if you don't tell them exactly what it is that you're looking for, it's going to do what it thinks is right. So yes, be as specific as possible. Now let's get on to Nick's tips, and I will tell you how I use ChatGPT to improve my productivity and create my content. And then you can steal this information and use it yourself. First things first, I always ask it to write in British English. Reason being, ChatGPT is American, so when it creates the content for you, whatever it is that it's created for you, it's going to use a hell of a lot of Zs or Z's if you're American, like in prioritize or whatever it is. And then that means that you will have to then go and change it. And that's just unnecessary. So if you ask ChatGPT to create it in British English for you, you will avoid that problem. I always tell it, write content that a 10-year-old child can understand. Reason being, it uses simpler language. It makes it easy for everyone to understand. No one needs to stop and think about what they're actually reading. They can just absorb what they're reading. That makes it, it makes whatever you've created a hell of a lot more useful for the end user, for your audience. I always finish, one of the last things I always say to it is, do you need to know anything else from me? So then that way, if I haven't been as specific as I could have been, it's going to come back to me and say, actually, tell me about this, 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 and this. And then that way, you can then go and answer those problems, answer those questions. And again, what ChatGPT creates for you will be more specific to what you're actually looking for. I always say to it, tell me what you've understood from me. That way, it's going to then spit back to me. It's going to create content that tells me what it thinks that I want from it. So, that way, there's no misunderstanding about what it actually ends up creating for me. I've asked it for X. It knows to create X. Perfect. Go ahead and create X. But if I ask it for X and it says, I'm going to create Y, we know we've got a problem to solve. I quite often say to it, I will share XYZ in the next prompt. So, for example, if I wanted to turn my LinkedIn article into a blog, I would say, give it all the information. I say, I want to create a blog from this LinkedIn article. This is what I want, blah, blah, blah. I will share the LinkedIn article in the next prompt. Do you understand what I'm asking you for in the meantime? And it will spit back and say to me what it thinks that I want. And then it will say, yes, I'm ready for the LinkedIn article. I then copy and paste it. Jobs are good. I always ask ChatGPT to avoid common ChatGPT tropes, common ChatGPT language. I think, the chances are, but I'm not sure actually. I can spot when something has been written by ChatGPT because it uses these tropes, these lazy language bits, transform, boost, all this other stuff. Words that most people don't use, but for some reason ChatGPT is obsessed with them. So I ask it to avoid those words. I want content that nobody can say for certain is actually from ChatGPT. That way, people aren't looking at me and thinking, oh, he's just copied and pasted from ChatGPT, which is what I've done most of the time. I ask it to add emojis to social media posts. Emojis always do well on LinkedIn, for example. So I like to ask it to put those emojis in for me. That saves me a job. So it increases my productivity. I ask it to add relevant and trending hashtags. So, for those last two bits, for adding the emojis, adding the relevant trending hashtags, you would say to it, where you want these in the copy that you're asking it to create for you, the content that you're asking it to create for you, how many you're looking for. So sometimes I'll say, add an emoji to each line, add 5 relevant trending hashtags, for example. The more specific you can get, the more specific the output, right? You can also, instead of copying and pasting, say, for example, let's circle back to the example I used a minute ago, the LinkedIn article, rather than saying, I will share the LinkedIn article in the next prompt, and then copying and pasting it, what I can do is upload a document. So that way, the reason that I do this is sometimes you can put too much information into a prompt. ChatGPT will not like it. ChatGPT will say there's too much information. I don't know what to do with it. But for some reason, if you put the information into a Word document or a Google Doc and then upload that into ChatGPT, it will be like, okay, I can absorb anything that you give to me. So sometimes that's what I like to do for it. What I also like to do is share examples of the types of content that I like and the types of content that I don't like. Again, you can put this into a separate document and you can say, I like stuff like this, where best practice, and I don't like stuff like this. So then that way, ChatGPT is aware of what you do and do not like. And that way, what it creates for you will be a lot closer to what you actually want from it. So yes, those are my tips on how to use ChatGPT to get the best possible output that you can possibly get. That being said, even with all these tips that I've shared with you, you will still have to check what it's created for you because Yeah, because it won't be perfect. It's never going to be perfect because at the end of the day, it's still a machine and it's still not glued into your mind. One last tip, actually, that I've just remembered. I asked ChatGPT to start sentences with and, so, because. And the reason that I do this is because ChatGPT won't do this, but in real life, that is how we talk. We do start sentences with so, and because. And I want my tone of voice to be conversational and friendly. So yeah, there you go. Those are Nick's tips on how to use ChatGPT. So hopefully they will help you creating the content that you need to do your marketing for your HR consultancy. So there you have it, ChatGPT, a powerful tool that can eliminate blank page anxiety and save you hours of work every week. From crafting LinkedIn posts and email campaigns to lead magnets and client proposals, ChatGPT can do it all, but only if you know how to use it effectively. And now you do. The key is crafting clear, specific prompts, leveraging memory banks, and avoiding common pitfalls like being too vague or expecting perfect results on the first try. So if you're ready to start using ChatGPT, then do it. And if you want some help, then make sure to join the HR Business Success Squad, because inside you will find ready-made ChatGPT prompts that you can just copy and paste to create all your marketing content, from social media posts to email campaigns. Whatever it is that you need, there's a prompt. You'll also get expert guidance on using ChatGPT to grow your HR consultancy to 70K or more. So don't miss out. Click the link in the show notes and join us today. For now, as ever, get marketing, because without marketing, there's no sales, and without sales, there's no business. So get marketing. Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Marketing Made Easy for HR Consultants podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, then please consider taking a minute to help us grow by sharing the episode with a friend or colleague, or by leaving a positive review on podchaser.com. And make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes if you haven't done so already. I've been your host, Nick Brinsky, and if you've got any questions or you want to know more about today's topic, then feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be delighted to hear from you. See you next time.